Well, welcome everyone to another delicious, nutritious adventure event. This event is in collaboration with Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. My name is Carrie Bruno. I'm a pharmacist, a PBNM board member, and your host for tonight's event. Plant-Based Nutrition Movement is a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to educate, inspire, and support those moving towards an evidence-based, whole, minimally processed, plant-based way of eating as a way to improve health and quality of life at all ages. Everyone interested in health and wellness is welcome to attend these events, whether you've never heard about a plant-based diet or have already been following this way of eating for many years. Well, we're all here to learn more and to help each other along the way. These events are held monthly on the third Tuesday of the month, and this program will be recorded and available for future viewing or sharing on the PBNM YouTube channel. And if you'd like more information about this group, PBNM, and future events, or would like to become a member and receive our monthly newsletters, you can go to pbnm.org. And for tonight's event, we have a culinary delight in store for you. Our first speaker today is Janet Pearson, and she is also a PBNM board member and a one-on-one plant-based coach. And she'll be starting off with the first 15 to 20 minutes with our seasonal segment. And she's going to be sharing information and recipes involving chickpeas and cauliflower. That's kind of going to be our star ingredients for the night. And then our featured guest for the night is Vicki Brett-Gach, and she'll be demonstrating two delicious recipes for us: homemade hummus and spicy roasted cauliflower. After Vicki's cooking demonstration, whatever time remains, we'll leave for questions. And throughout the presentation, everyone except the speakers will be muted, and we ask everyone to remain muted to avoid interruptions and background noise. But please feel free to use the chat box to submit questions for Vicki. So without further ado, we'll get the event started. Janet, would you like to start us off with your information and recipes about chickpeas and cauliflower?
I would. Thank you so much for the introduction, Carrie. And I did it's a little research. I've been using chickpeas and cauliflower now since I've been plant-based in all kind of crazy ways. If you are new to plant-based, like I was about 9 years ago, I never thought I would freeze cauliflower and then put it with a banana in a smoothie and put chocolate in it and peanut butter, and it's delicious. Or make ice cream with bananas and frozen cauliflower, or chickpeas and brownies. And you hear all these weird things, and how could it be? Well, I did a little research, and since our program, the name of it is called Delicious Nutritious Adventure, I like to do a little research. So let me share with you the history of chickpeas. We'll start there. And chickpeas are one of the earliest cultivated legumes. Remains of chickpeas, get this, from the Middle East have been found that are roughly 7,500 years old. These remains were found in Jericho and different areas of Turkey. And that actually translates in the archaeology world that humans had been cultivating chickpeas before they were producing pottery, which is like just an amazing fact. So we have come a long way with our food processors and our Blendtex and our Vitamixes, haven't we? But from there, it's believed that chickpeas originated in being cultivated in Turkey and the Middle Eastern areas of the world. And then they appear throughout history in Greece, France, and other areas of Europe. All the links that I found that were interesting, I did clip them and copy them, and we will be adding them to the show notes when we put this recording for anyone that is watching and wants more information to the links. And according to Mayo Clinic, the health system, chickpeas are a nutrient powerhouse. They're budget friendly. It's a protein, and they're low fat, low in saturated fat, loaded with all kind of nutrients, and nearly 3/4 of Americans exceed the daily recommended amount of saturated fat with their animal-based proteins. But chickpeas are low in fat and they have comparable numbers of the amount of protein. If you look on they provide, it's weird. This website said they provide nearly 20 grams of protein to a half a cup a serving. And I don't know how this works, but when I have my demo thing, I always like to show some things, all the different chickpeas. So, excuse me, let me pull my bowl of chickpeas that were in my pantry. So you could get chickpeas in a can. Okay. And you always want to check the sodium because it varies. Be- Unless you have if you are lucky enough to find no salt added, mostly it's chickpeas and salt. And if you haven't in the can, you could get them in bottles. This was from an Italian little local deli. And you could use the Aqua Faba, which is the liquid inside the can or the jar. That's a new thing. You could actually whip that up and it gets foamy like egg whites. And since it has protein in it, it could be used as a meringue or even in a substitute for egg whites in different recipes. And then chickpeas also can be found dried, of course, in a bag. And this is a 2-pound package. And you could see how little they are. They're dried and they double in size when you soak them in water overnight. And then you could cook them on the stove, add them to soups. And then you could also use chickpea flour. Is that backwards or could you read it? Chickpea flour, it says. This is Bob's Red Mill. And I've been seeing it more and more recipes. It's a high protein way or item to add. It's organic. It's gluten-free. And you could add it to pancakes, to cookies, to crepes. I've seen many different recipes. So those are the different forms of chickpeas and the ways you can use them, and they're interchangeable in recipes with the northern bean or the cannellini bean. So a white bean, any recipe that says white bean, they're pretty much interchangeable. And of course, hummus. Vicki's going to demonstrate a hummus recipe for us today and how easy you could whip it up and make a hummus recipe. But let me put this down and grab my phone again. Where did I put my phone? Okay, here it is with my notes. And some of the interesting recipes that I found that you will have the link for. Let me tell you this. Find out where they were. They're filled with not only the protein, but they have phytonutrients, which are the antioxidants and plant, not just the protein and the fat and the carbs, but they have all the other antioxidants and phytonutrients that keeps every cell in our body running at optimum performance. They're also a great source of folate, iron, vitamin C, and phosphorus. And as I said, budget friendly. The most cost-effective way to buy them is probably the dried way, because you could get a big bag and you dry and cook them in either an Instant Pot or on a pot on the stove. They're very neutral in flavor. And I found an interesting slide. I'm not sharing slides, but I'll have the link. Compared to beef, beef is averages, according to USDA, and 2024 prices in February, $7.90 a pound. Chickpeas are, they're less than, $2 a pound. So definitely a budget friendly option for protein. And you get all the protein you need from plants. They're not deficient in complete protein. Michael Greger, he has several articles and videos on the benefits of lentils and chickpeas to prevent stomach and colon, different cancers, different diseases of the digestive system. Harvard Medical School has many articles in them, but the amount of protein ranges from 8 to 10 grams per serving. So they're pretty good amount. I've seen recipes for frittata recipes, which is kind of like an egg quiche. You could use the chickpea flour in that. As I mentioned before, chickpea burgers and chickpea nuggets. Instead of chicken nuggets, you can make little burger nuggets that look like chicken nuggets that are great to dip. Kids love those. Chickpea and sweet potato patties is a recipe that I found that everyone will get. PCRM has a collection of chickpeas. There's about 30 or 40 recipes with one link. And Forks Over Knives has a collection of chickpeas that I found the link for everyone. So there's endless amounts of recipes that you can find for chickpeas. And let me just briefly move on to cauliflower. Cauliflower comes in several colors: white, green, orange, purple. We normally just see white, but there's actually 80 different varieties of cauliflower, according to the North Carolina State University, which is unbelievable. And put in the chat if you know where they've come from, what country originated the cauliflower. So let's see if anybody knows before they Google it. Is anybody putting in the chat the answer? Let me tell you some of the recipes that I found for cauliflower. Personally, I use cauliflower for the most unique way is blended, roasted and then blended with onion and garlic in a fettuccine sauce without any butter, without any liquid. You can put soy milk in it to make it creamy, but the cauliflower gets a real creamy sauce, and you could add cashews or white beans in it. There's many different varieties on that. But the nutrition, they're high in vitamin C. Who knew? Everyone thinks oranges have vitamin C, right? But cauliflower has very high in vitamin C, vitamin K, vitamin B, and folate. It contains calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, smaller amounts of thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, iron, magnesium, manganese. Only 27 calories per cup. So you could eat a lot of cauliflower and get all those vitamins. And I mean, if it's kind of like a multivitamin in a cup that we don't even realize. If all these things were listed on cauliflower, they would be in your cart every week for your nutrition. So my favorite way, as I said, is the cream sauce, which is so unique. And then there's the buffalo cauliflower bites that you see as appetizers in some vegan restaurants. You could find them, or you can make them at home. And then there's veggie tots. I found a great recipe that blends broccoli, cauliflower, potato, and white beans all together to make like a little circle type of ball that you could air fry. And then cauliflower pizza crust. You could add it to salsa to make a dip, and it's almost like a landlocked ceviche, which is in the Forks Over Knives that I've made myself and brought it to parties. So that's the white kind of takes the place of the white fish that's normally in a ceviche, and all the lime and the jalapeno and the tomatoes and things you'd put in a salsa. So that concludes my little introduction to the two miracles, should I call them. Did anybody guess where it's from, cauliflower, in the chat?
No guesses yet.
It comes from Italy, is found, the oldest place is found in an island just off the Italian coast. So yeah, if you're Italian, I'm half Italian. So yay, we discovered the magic of the cauliflower. And it could be roasted, grilled, boiled, steamed, pickled, eaten raw, eaten cooked, eaten frozen, blended. It's pretty amazing. So we want to encourage you to try some cauliflower recipes. And I will give it back to you, Carrie. Thanks.
That's perfect. Well, thank you for all of the information and the recipes. One little fun fact I recently, well, probably about a year ago, learned about cauliflower. So it grows similar to broccoli. And a master gardener friend of mine mentioned that if it grew the same way as broccoli, and a lot of times cauliflower is covered with its leaves when it's growing. And if it wasn't like that, we would have green cauliflower. It would turn green, but because it's covered by its own leaves, that's why it's white. I guess I never really thought to ask her where all the colored cauliflowers come from, but I thought that was a nice little tip and fun fact about how cauliflower grows for all of the gardeners in the group. So, well, moving right along, our featured guest for tonight is Vicki Brett-Gach. Vicki is a certified personal chef, a master certified vegan lifestyle coach, a plant-based culinary instructor, and the author of the Plant-Based for Life Cookbook. As a coach, Vicki works remotely with individual clients across the country, often helping them reverse health challenges and chronic conditions. And she teaches whole food plant-based cooking classes to groups of all sizes with a focus on helping people learn how to make eating healthy, easy recipes. Vicki is the creator of Ann Arbor Vegan Kitchen blog, and her recipes have been featured in multiple magazines and cookbooks, including Health Science Magazine, Veg World Magazine, and Global Vegan. And I'm sure the recipes she's going to be sharing with us tonight will be nothing short of amazing. So welcome, Vicki. We're delighted to have you with us, and I can't wait to see the recipes you're going to share.
Thank you so much, Carrie and Janet. It's so nice to be with all of you tonight. And I'm really excited to share this recipe with you, which is actually two recipes in one. You could make just one or the other, and those would be good too, but combined is kind of extra special. So I'm going to dive right into it and show you what we're going to do. We're going to actually start tonight with the buffalo inspired roasted cauliflower. You know, buffalo cauliflower wings, as many people have heard of, many times they're served in restaurants. A lot of times they'll have a breading, sometimes oil involved. And so this is kind of the flavors of buffalo, my version of it, but without any breading. So it's a really super easy version of the buffalo flavor in cauliflower. And we're going to use that to build a beautiful platter that includes a bunch of vegetables and a homemade hummus underneath. So I'm excited to get started with you. We're going to start with 2 heads of cauliflower. And I'm just showing you how I'm making this cauliflower recipe. And we won't use all of it on this platter. You'll have some that you can save for another use, which could be all kinds of stuff. Add it to pasta, use it as a side dish, add it over mashed potatoes, lots of fun stuff. But we're gonna, for convenience, start with 2 roasted cauliflower heads. And the reason I do that is because it's so delicious, I like to have extra. So we're starting with just the florets from 2 heads of cauliflower. I've put them into a nonstick roasting pan. This pan, lots of times people will ask me, is made by Scan Pan. It's just a brand I've found that works really well. It's very forgiving with things kind of, you know, sticking at a higher heat in the oven. It cleans up really beautifully. So we're starting just with this very simple cauliflower that has been washed and trimmed, and just these florets just added to the pan. And now we're going to put this into an oven at 400 degrees for 40 minutes. That's how easy we're getting started. So we'll do that. I'll set it aside. And then I have one in the oven that I'm going to show you what it looks like in a moment. But the next step, as we put that in for 40 minutes, is just to prepare a little sauce that's basically the flavor of the buffalo inspired, you know, sauce of it that we will create and then set aside until it comes out of the oven at that 40-minute point. And that's when we add the sauce, mix it all in, and stick it back into the oven for 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how tender you like the cauliflower, how, extra dark you might like that sauce to get, a little caramelized, or if you want to just use it at the earlier stage, it's already tender and ready to go. So I'm starting here my sauce very easy. I have 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. And that's another reason I use the 2 heads of cauliflower. When I first made this, the first time I used 1 and I didn't use all the sauce, or all the tomato paste, and I just thought I'm going to double it, use all of it. Of course, you could make half of this amount, freeze the rest of your tomato paste, or refrigerate it until another use. But I just do the whole thing because I love to batch cook and have leftovers, so I don't have to cook every day. So again, we're starting with a 6-ounce can, about half a cup of tomato paste, adding to that about half a cup of water. So we're just thinning this out now. And then to that, adding a little seasoning. Now this could be completely to taste. I'm adding some onion powder and some smoked paprika, a little bit of sauce, a little bit of salt, a little bit of Cajun seasoning, and a little bit of hot sauce. And so this again is completely to taste. You'll see in the instructions when you get the recipe that I'm adding the salt normally and the Creole or Cajun seasoning at the end, and the hot sauce kind of over the whole thing. But you can add it all into it in one fell swoop, which is how I sometimes do it, just for ease, just again to taste. I'm using a Cholula hot sauce. You can use any kind you like. And just a little bit of a Creole or Cajun seasoning, which is just chilies and salt and garlic. And again, if you're salt-free or want to leave that out, you certainly can. I'm adding a little bit of salt as well. And then we're ready to go. We'll set this aside until the 40 minutes pass. And then when we pull it out of the oven, we're just going to mix all that sauce in until every cauliflower floret gets covered. So maybe 1.5 minutes of mixing, maybe 2 minutes of mixing, just to make sure every floret gets nicely covered with this red sauce with all the flavor. Then stick it back into the oven for that same amount of time, as I mentioned, 10 to 20 minutes, and then you're ready to go. So then you pull it out, it's ready to use. You could actually make this ahead, this stage, and have the cauliflower not warm, but I do like adding this warm hummus over the cooler vegetables because I think that contrast of texture along with all that flavor is kind of, a treat for the palate. But if you had made this earlier in the day or the day before, and now that cauliflower is cold, that's good too. So now we're all set with our cauliflower process. I'll show you what this looks like in just a moment here. In fact, I'll show you right now, and then we'll set it aside until we're ready to use it. I just have been baking this as we were coming online here. And my first batch is all set. So we've got this really flavorful roasted cauliflower covered, it's kind of smothered in this sauce. It smells really good and it's nice and warm. So I'm going to move it aside so I can show you how the next step, and then we'll come back to this, okay? And now we are ready to make our hummus. So this is a very easy hummus. We're just putting everything into a food processor. And so here we go. We start with the amount of 1 can of water, about 1/4 cup of tahini, which is just basically a ground sesame seed and nothing else added. And then a little bit of lemon juice and our seasonings. Our seasonings are some cumin, a little bit of kosher salt, black pepper, cayenne, a little bit of Cajun or Creole seasoning if you'd like. And again, those are optional. And we're going to give it a spin. So that's everything. It's all in here. And you can make homemade hummus in just like a minute. So here we go. We're going to make a little bit of noise. So here we go. We're done. So let me show you what this looks like. It's nice and creamy. So the first thing I'm going to do here is take our blade out just for safety and give it an extra stir. I have a big bowl here, and maybe if your food processor was smaller than mine, it might not have this problem that I have, but my liquid is kind of stuck to the bottom. So I'm giving it an extra stir just to kind of pick up from the base everything that might have not gotten mixed in as well. And I really like to get this nice and smooth because I just love this texture. It's kind of a miracle because sometimes you'll buy hummus in the store and it's very smooth, but it's got oil added. And for those of us that want to avoid oil, it's really fun to make your own. And you just need to give it a nice blend in order to get it that same nice and creamy without oil, nice and creamy, just as creamy. And so here we go. We're all set with our hummus. And before I plate this, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with how I'm going to serve this, because I like to have something to dip into this hummus, but I like to control the quality of it. So vegetables are great if you want to, cut up carrots or celery or peppers or whatever you might like. I'm using cucumbers today because I think it's just delicious using those as a nice crispy, cool contrast to the flavor that's inside the hummus. But I'm also adding to it some Ezekiel tortillas that I'm creating myself into crackers. So basically, as you know, these are those of you that might use this type of thing already. This is a lovely whole grain, oil-free, full of fiber choice. And so I've got these tortillas. They're small. They come, this type of product, sprouted flourless tortillas made by the Ezekiel brand, come in more than one size, like a small and a larger size, like taco versus a burrito size. You could use any size you like. This is the smaller size. And I'm just using literally a scissors to cut this into, again, it's your choice. I'm cutting each of these into 8 pieces, and I'm going to go off camera to stick all of these. I actually cut up a total of 3 small tortillas, so I'll have 24 pieces to dip. I'm going to stick this into my toaster oven right now. So I can, you'll still hear me, but I'm going to stick these onto the base of the toaster oven, and I don't think it's in the camera. So here I go. And if you have a question for me, let me know while I'm just getting this all ready to toast here. I wanted to make sure these will be nice and hot and crispy as I show you these. And it'll take just a second to spread them out on my toaster oven right on the base. Do we have any questions yet, Carrie or Janet? So here I am just putting all of these into
We
the
do.
toaster oven. Oh,
We have
do
a
we?
question.
Great.
Sid actually is wondering, do you ever put any seasoning on your the tortillas? I think she likes to I think she said she likes to put lime in, maybe some
I think it's so
seasoning.
good with lime. That's a great idea. And I don't usually on this version, in this recipe, Sid, because I've got so much flavor that's in the hummus already and on top with the flavored, buffalo flavored cauliflower. So I think there's so much flavor that the simple plain dippers are kind of welcome. But I do love to do this same idea of, you know, putting a little bit of lime juice sprayed on the top or just brushed on instead, in other applications where I might use this as a dipper. So it's fun to make your own chips. It's just going to take just until, you know, a minute or whatever, however long you want to have them cook. And now we'll start to plate, and I'll show you how fun this part is. So here we go. I'm going to take a nice pretty platter. We'll just use a nice large platter. And now I'm going to take all of this hummus.
That's a beautiful platter. I love that platter.
Oh, thank you. So what we're going to do, and of course you can use any platter you want. You can make this as thick as you like. You can also make a mini version. So I'm preparing to kind of feed a crowd. I had mentioned to Carrie and Janet that I originally came up with this idea as a way to kind of have a nice starter appetizer for a larger group that was visiting, of kind of a family reunion, not a huge amount, maybe about 10, 12 people that we had here. So it was a nice way to have, you know, kind of allow people to come in, maybe have a glass of wine or whatever if they'd like to, and just have a little something to snack on before dinner. So I also think this would be really nice to serve as a, you know, we're getting into summer and we're getting into a time of year where a lot of people do a lot of celebrating and sharing activities outside. This could be something you bring to a potluck and assemble. It could be something you bring to a meetup group. And so here we are. I'm not spreading it all the way to the edges, but you certainly could. I'm leaving room for putting our little dippers around. So there we go. We've got our hummus spread around. And now while we're waiting for our chips to be coming out of the toaster, I'm going to take just these little slices of cucumber that I've created here. I sliced them slightly on the diagonal. It's English cucumber, just an organic one that allowed me to make them just slightly bigger for dipping by being slightly on the diagonal instead of straight up and down. And I'm just kind of touching the edges. Again, all of this is completely flexible. You can add as many as you want. You can add just vegetables. You don't need to do the tortilla chips. You can add, you know, both, whatever you like. So here we are. I've got this started with just this already, ready to go. And we'll see how we're doing. This is saying it's going to give me 1 more minute until our chips are ready. So let me show you the next step. Here we go with, you know, I think I'm going to just put these gloves on just so I can dip my hands in and pile toppings on.
So Vicki, one question while you're kind of getting ready to prep. We had somebody ask if you can make the hummus without a food processor.
You could probably make the hummus in a Vitamix or another high-powered blender for sure. I usually use this blender because or the food processor. I'm just happy with how this works, but I have made it before in the Vitamix. I think if you have a wider base of a food processor, it's a little easier to dig out because it is fairly thick. But again, yes, definitely you can make it with in other ways. So definitely that's a great question. So now I have some red bell pepper that I diced up, and I don't have any measurements. I'm saying, you know, at least a third of a cup. But again, this is completely to taste. You know, it's like whatever you like. The vegetables I picked also are just ones I like. And so if you wanted to use different colors of bell peppers, if you wanted to use olives instead of or along with any of these things, I mean, absolutely anything goes, but I'll just show you what I like to do. So I'm putting all of this on here, and then I'm going to celery, which is kind of unusual. Like you could definitely use celery on the side for dipping, but I just like this diced or sliced pieces of celery right on top because I like this crunch, and I like it kind of mixed in, almost kind of like, you know, those of us who've been plant-based for a long time may remember before where we were eating things like, you know, tuna salad and stuff like that. This is sort of reminiscent of that, where you get that crunch and the creaminess, and yet it's all plant-based and so good for us that we'll be very happy before, during, and after. And that's kind of my motto. You know, I think if we're making decisions about what we want to eat, we want to be able to look back on the day and think, I'm glad I ate that. And I'm glad I didn't eat that, you know, that kind of thing, because I think that how we feel tonight and tomorrow, it's all related to choices that we're making today. So why not make ones that will make us feel good? So the next thing I have, now this could be onion. I'm looking at it thinking this could be red onion, but this is actually red cabbage. So I'm sprinkling this now on top. It's just shredded really thinly. If you wanted to save a step, you could buy like a slaw, you know, mix that's already been threaded and pre-shredded. And so now our chips are out. So let me go grab those. Let me just put them into a dish so that we can get them all over here. And these are getting nice and they're warm and crispy now and ready to stick into this platter.
And while she's doing that, for anyone that is in the market, doesn't have a food processor, one brand that I like to recommend for people that can be purchased at pretty much most Targets. Target is, you know, pretty much in any small town in the US or large city. And it's a Hamilton Beach 8-cup, and it has a bowl scraper. So search for Hamilton Beach bowl scraper 8-cup. You will find, because they have 20 or 25 different ones, but it's normally on sale for about $39, $39.40. Regular price, it's only $45. And I don't know if you used your food processor, but for the shredding and cutting of the cucumbers and the, you know, a lot of your vegetables and carrots, you could just put them down there quick. And it has a slicer mode as well as the S-blade. And it has the bowl scraper. And I like it because it's not a huge bowl, and it's perfect for one can of to make hummus like this. I bought one for a gift from my mom. My son has one. I have one. I have the larger one that you have, but I tend to use the smaller 8-cup more. And that is so colorful and so beautiful. You would want to dig into that. If I saw that with all these other appetizers on the table, I would go for that first.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you think so. And I have to say that, again, I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of grabbing and piling on. And I find that, you know, kind of the more the merrier. And it's kind of fun because, you know, people can just dig in. You saw that I made more chips than I actually put out. And you can actually kind of pile up or double up. But this is everything. And then I'm just finishing it off with a little bit of, one thing I didn't do that's in my recipe is, if you want to, you can sprinkle a little bit of za'atar seasoning over the hummus first. I didn't remember to do that, but I do like that. So I'm just going to do a little bit of that now. And then I'm finishing it off with a little bit of fresh herbs. Usually it's cilantro, but I have a little garden on my front porch of a few herbs, and I've got some basil and cilantro and parsley. So I'm just putting a little mix in here. I chopped it up just a little while ago, and I put it into this little container with a wet paper towel underneath it to make sure that it would stay moist enough to be able to use on top just right now. And so that is it. We have our platter that is all ready to share of our homemade hummus topped with our spicy roasted buffalo cauliflower. And cauliflower, as you mentioned, as well as being all those healthy reasons why it's so good for us, it's also one of the cruciferous vegetables. And that's something that many experts agree that we should try to have some kind of cruciferous vegetable in our diet every day. So this is a fun way to get it. And along with all those nice things that we heard about chickpeas and cauliflower, both of them being so amenable to flavoring in different ways, because both of them are quite neutral in themselves and really just ready to be add some interest to them with the flavors that we're using. But we've got so much kind of a riot of flavor and color here, and it allows you to just kind of use all of these fun flavors as we're dipping in and enjoying it. But I have to also say that if you're lucky enough to have any left over the next day, it's really, really good left over as well. It may not be as pretty, because usually what I'll do is scoop up whatever might be left into a glass container like this, or bigger one if needed. And everything kind of gets blended together. So now you've got your hummus with the vegetables in it that we chopped up, and maybe a little of the cauliflower and the herbs, and everything all gets mixed up. And it really makes just a fantastic sandwich spread, or, filling for a tortilla, is that kind of thing. So also just topped over a baked potato or some other fun way as well. But yeah, so here we are, and we're ready to serve.
Beautiful. Let me read some of the comments here. First of all, where's the recipe going to be? Are we sharing it in the show notes, or is it on your blog or on your website? Where could they find
Well, I
the
shared it with you guys. You have the recipe.
We will
Yeah.
be posting it in the show notes when this goes on our YouTube channel.
But I definitely do have it on my website as well, which is Ann Arbor Vegan Kitchen. And it's called Homemade Hummus Platter, topped with these vegetables. So yeah, feel free to go there as well.
And we have a question. Somebody wants that platter. Where do you get that platter? It's beautiful.
This platter came from Crate and Barrel.
Got it. Pretty, yeah, it's with the white platter and the scallop edges, it really highlights the colors on the platter. But pretty much
a white platter will do that. Yeah, and it's kind of fun because it's got these scalloped edges. I actually have a matching fruit bowl, and then my son gave me this platter as a gift.
Nice. It's
Nice.
beautiful. Yeah. And did you put lemon juice in the hummus?
I did.
You did. Okay. I didn't remember you said that.
Yes. And all the flavors in the hummus are just kind of customized to what I like, and that's why I did it. But I have to say, hummus is so ready for you to do what you like. If you wanted to add, some roasted garlic, sometimes I add some beets that are cooked to get that beautiful bright pink color. Sometimes the lemon, you could add extra lemon if you want an extra lemony version. You could add fresh herbs, which I sometimes do. You could add olives. You could add, any kind of flavor that you'd like to be a little more dominant. So there's so much potential for customizing this exactly as suits you and your palate.
Right.
So definitely do that.
Roasted red pepper out of the jar.
Love that.
Just take one of those, put it in to give it the red color. And it's so easy. People don't, if you've never made it, you don't realize how quick it we spent all the time longer looking for an oil-free one, reading ingredients on, something on the store that, because there's, I think, only one brand that I've ever found that is oil-free, maybe two, on the market. But it's so easy to pop. And if you don't have the chickpeas, you can use the Great Northern beans for the same type of, would cause to be a similar dip. You could use Italian seasonings in it to make a variation. You could probably use pinto beans to make a similar platter with a Mexican type of motif, with just altering a little bit of the spices, keeping all the techniques and that you've demonstrated, but pretty much around the world based on the spices.
Yeah, you definitely could. And that's such a great point, because this really does lend itself really well to different kind of, flavor profiles of all different kinds of cuisine. So this is a little more Mediterranean with the lemon and the cumin, but definitely you could kind of like create something that's a little more Tex-Mex style, or whatever suits you. So definitely.
Right. Like from Mexican, I like adding corn, black beans.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really a great point that, you can put this together what we did just now, you can put all of this together really in less time than it takes to go to the store and come back, right? So I like to try to have a lot of the ingredients that we just talked about. The cucumber I would need to buy fresh each week, but much of the rest, well, I guess all the produce for that matter, but much of the ingredients, the tortilla chips I try to keep in the freezer as the tortillas. I try to keep some beans of all sorts in my pantry. I try to have my seasonings on hand so that I have less that might get in the way of, less resistance to putting together anything that sounds good. And I was just saying to my husband the other day that one of the things I like the most about this way of eating that we're all enjoying is that you get to make anything you want, anything that you crave. You can find a nice, healthy way of putting it together and do it yourself, and have everything you want, just anytime you want it. So, you feel like a chocolate cookie that's made in a healthy way with no sugar and no flour, whatever your parameters are, we can do that with no oil, no eggs, no sugar, no butter, all of those nice things. So we can do all kinds of, we can create whatever we want because we're in control.
Speaking of, you mentioned a sweet dip. I've seen chocolate, like the chickpea, but chocolate and dates added to the spread, to the dip, for a fruit type strawberry type of dip. So you can make a fruit platter very similar and use something chocolate or something date based or something caramely based with a date paste or maple syrup with one of the either chickpea or the great northern beans that are milder. Do you have any recipes like that in your dessert?
I do not have, no, I know there are chocolate, you can buy chocolate hummus and you can definitely make chocolate hummus. No, I don't have that. I will say that I eat a lot of beans. So when I have dessert, I don't feel like I need to get extra fiber from beans in the desserts, but I do use, very pure products in my whole dates and oats and cacao and things like that. So no, I don't usually add beans. I do sometimes add nuts or nut butter. Oats, that kind of stuff. So everything is also really pure and plant-based, but not as much with the beans, although I know that's a very popular strategy and it's very conducive to weight loss because it's full of fiber, very satisfying, and it's a great alternative. I tend to use beans in more of a savory way, but I know they're definitely, and that's just personal. That's just how I do it because I eat beans really 3 meals a day. So I don't always have it for dessert.
That's great. Did you want to share? We can't wait to tell everyone about your newest book and your previous book. How long have you been plant-based?
So I've been plant-based since, I will say that I've been vegan since 2009. So this is my 15th year. But I will say I will call myself plant-based since about 2000, somewhere between 12 and 14 is when I became all the way plant-based, when I realized that being vegan wasn't enough for me to get to my health goals. And so I was trying to reduce my cholesterol, and I was initially just not having any animal products, but I was allowing myself things that to me now kind of feel like vegan junk food because I'm just a lot more particular. So I'll say 2000, somewhere between 12 and 14, it was kind of a gradual process where I recognized that I needed to be a little bit more careful with the things I was eating. And that's what inspired me to get so excited about sharing this food with other people. Because when I realized how great the food is when we make it ourselves and combine all these interesting flavors, and our palate gets more cleaned out and pure, and we're more appreciative of all these combinations. I'm so much more like creative than I was before when I was, sort of dulling all of my senses with animal products. And certainly even when I turned vegan, but it wasn't all the way to the cleanest vegan that I, would want to be later on.
Yeah.
So that's how long. Yeah, that's where I started.
We always like to know too, when you went plant-based, from vegan to plant-based, Were you born and raised in Michigan, and you're from Ann Arbor now? Did you grow up in Ann Arbor area?
So I've been in Ann Arbor since about 1980, I think. I grew up in Huntington Woods, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. And so I've always been in Michigan. I am married. We have our wedding anniversary this Friday, 37 years. We've got 2 grown kids and a golden retriever. And I was not raised vegan. I did not raise them vegan. I wish I had, but it took until you know, a little further into my journey before my eyes were opened. And my story really comes from wanting to give myself the best nutrition possible. And I was raised with a mother who was diabetic for over 30 years, heart problems, kidney problems, high blood pressure, cholesterol problems, all kinds of things. And I'm the youngest of 3 kids, but I was raised with the philosophy that getting older is just like an unfortunate situation where you can expect to get ill, because that's what happened to my mom. And that, you know, there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to be graceful about it and expect to have to take lots of medications and stuff like that. Well, that didn't really suit my temperament. I didn't like that answer. And so I started just doing a little research as my mom got more ill over the years, and actually as my mother-in-law did as well. And when I came across the huge blessing of finding the China study by T. Colin Campbell, that is what my turning point, my aha moment was, when I understood for the first time the association between animal products and chronic illness. And so I just made it my business to turn around what I was putting in my grocery cart, because good health starts at the grocery store. And so I changed everything I was buying. I was buying, you know, instead of buying these animal products and this kind of junky food for my kids that they were expecting, I started buying different food, and I stopped using animal products, and they weren't happy about it at first. It took a little transition and a little understanding and some time for them to begin to, for us to negotiate what I was willing to prepare and serve, and for them to begin to understand and eventually really appreciate it. And so then, of course, you know, it took some amount of time. We had some growing pains together, but it was, you know, I never looked back, never questioned. And I thought, if there's some question about my kids in particular, because my husband was really very supportive, but my kids were a little unsure about what our dinner would look like if I wasn't putting chicken on the plate or whatever. But, you know, once they saw that we were eating familiar foods and they were delicious, I was just making them in a different way. We're still having pastas with homemade sauce, and I was making all kinds of delicious, you know, recipes of hearty soups and, you know, all kinds of fun stuff, of course, and still making desserts and all the things that they had come to appreciate. So, in fact, just getting more and more excited about it. And that's really what made me want to start sharing all of that with other people.
I could see you're very passionate about it, and I want to bring everyone forward to what you've been up to the last 10 years with your books and all your studies. But I could imagine from your, you know, we're about the same age, and my kids, when I started, were I raised 2 boys, and they were in high school when I first started. And the first thing I made was, oh, I thought I'd try Meatless Monday. And it was like, oh, I'll make chili. And where's the meat? I remember that. Where's the meat? This is just beans. Because I would put beans in, so I just
Yeah.
cut the meat out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I didn't put the meat in today, you know, just enjoy it. And then the next Monday, it's like, okay, what am I going to make? Oh, I'll make pasta. And I'll put zucchini and mushrooms instead of the ground meat or sausage. Same thing. Where's the meat, Mom? What are
Yeah.
you doing to us, Mom?
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm like, oh, well, I didn't tell them we were going to change, because I was just digging. I didn't know anybody that was doing this. And so much like you, I would imagine in Ann Arbor, you probably were the lone person that you knew, and you had to find community like we're doing here to
That's
connect
right.
with other people, ask questions. And how did you find people in your area or other people eating this way?
So I started in 2012 reaching out and finding Veg Michigan, which was our local vegetarian vegan group. And before long, I started teaching for them at Whole Foods. And then I found the Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group, PBNSG, in Michigan, and Paul Chatlin, and started actually teaching. I was co-director of culinary education for him for 3 years for the group when we were meeting in person. And I was teaching at a local community college, and just one thing kind of led to another. I started my blog, people started finding me, and pretty soon I was having an opportunity to kind of, network with other people who were like-minded. But you're right, exactly how you started, Janet. When I first began, I didn't know anyone eating this way, and I had to sort of give the backstory to my kids about why I was doing it. It didn't make them any happier that I was not giving them the foods they were used to, but they had at least had an understanding. And I think what happened is they developed a respect for what I was doing. And I felt so strongly about it that I felt that even if they were resistant, the very minimum I could do was that I was modeling what I believed in for them to see. And then if they chose to eat something else outside of the house, that was up to them. But at least they would know what I was doing and why. And so that's kind of the way it started. And then over the years now, of course, they're used to what I eat and they love the food that I make. And now my daughter just got married about a month ago. She makes the same food I make. And, we have lots of meeting of the minds on all of this by now.
Well, it sounds like the internet brought you together to other groups that weren't in your immediate area, but in the Michigan, Detroit area, and you easily found your tribe of people. And that's what we recommend is the best way. We need the supportive group to just ask dumb questions. There is no dumb question. Like, how do you make that hummus? What do you put in yours? A friend of mine said she put sauerkraut and chickpeas and processed it, and the sauerkraut gave the chickpeas a really tang. That's all you needed. I'm like, really? So I tried it. It's an interesting combination. If you
Why
like,
not? Yeah.
I mean,
I've seen a pickle hummus. It kind of sounds like that a little bit, and all those things make sense because the contrast of flavors, the little sour with the smooth. That I can imagine that those would be.
Yeah, and then the hummus you could use as a mayonnaise instead of mayonnaise in a chickpea salad with some relish. And it's a great substitute on bread. And there's just many different varieties and ways you can use a creamy type bean-based dip or spread.
And it's also so good as instead of sour cream on a baked potato.
Ooh,
really good. I actually have a recipe. Here's my cookbook. Plant-Based for Life cookbook. And one of my recipes in here is a stuffed baked potato that, let's see if I can find it quickly. I don't know if I can, but I have a recipe that you just take basically, hummus and let's see, where is it? And stuff it into a baked potato. And here's one that's not with, okay, let's see if I can find it while I'm here. And
while you're looking,
because it's so delicious, here it is.
Share with everyone. Vicki took all of her own photos in her book. So not only are you a cookbook recipe author, you're a photographer. That's amazing.
Yes, I did take all the photographs for this. There's two different stuffed baked potatoes in here. This one is the one that has just red cabbage and onions that are stuffed back into the mashed potato, and the one that I showed you before that was a close-up of the potato that had hummus in it and some vegetables like broccoli or cauliflower, whatever you have that's cooked on hand.
Now,
but and then I just recently created this one.
When did you decide to put a cookbook together? How did that all happen?
Well, actually, I was starting to think during the beginning of COVID, and I was now not teaching for PBNSG, which I had been doing regularly. And all of a sudden, I kind of had an opportunity to do a creative project that I really didn't have an opportunity to kind of think through before that. And I was fortunate enough to be approached by a publisher, Brooklyn Writers Press, who we talked back and forth. She was interested in creating a cookbook with me. And so it took about 18 months, and it was published just about 2 years ago, 22. So yeah,
How
so
do
we created this,
people find it?
and then yeah, I'm very proud of it. Over 100 recipes, and yeah, I'm really excited about sharing this. It's got things like Indonesian peanut saute and my mac and cheese perfection, cinnamon applesauce donuts, chocolate strawberry brownies. It's available on my website and also through Amazon. And then this is a newer project that I've just done over the last few months. It's just become available on my website, which I call Feel Great Desserts. And it's 80 pages, about 34 recipes, each one with a photograph of a plant-based, oil-free, sugar-free, gluten-free recipe. All
Yum.
desserts. Here's one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
ebook.
We had this for Mother's Day, and this is my Black Forest cupcakes. So it's a really easy cupcake with a homemade chocolate sauce and just frozen cherries on top.
Delicious. And
Yeah.
those are ebooks. So if they buy that, then they just download it. They get an email.
They just download it. You get it right away. Yep.
Nice. And then I did look at your website. You have several recipes on your website and your blog.
Hundreds.
And you have hundreds. So those are recipes that aren't in your book, but they're on there. So you've created hundreds of recipes.
Lots of the recipes from here are on my website as well, but they're all gathered in one place. My
Nice.
favorites in here.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice. Some people like to look at, online on their phones when they're cooking. Other people like the book and see the picture. It's been great watching you demo it, and I've seen some from desserts to say dinners, and all of your recipes seem to have very simple ingredients that you could pretty much get at any supermarket. Nothing fancy. You don't have to order things on Amazon.
Right. I think it's really helpful to just have, basic ingredients that you can keep on hand. And I kind of think of it as just, like an artist with the colors of paint around them, just having your seasoning and your canned goods and be able to put together a quick pantry dinner or things from the freezer, maybe freeze extras. So you've always got something handy. That these are ways we take care of ourselves so we can be creative and make something when we're in the mood, but also have something on hand when we don't have time to prepare something right at that moment. And so to me, it's kind of the best of both worlds to be able to put together something fun like this and then have leftovers tomorrow as well.
Now, Sid is mentioning, our friend Sid from Illinois is saying your tempeh bean burgers are the best. Is that on your website or in one of your books, or where would we find that burger recipe?
Yes, I actually have in this cookbook, I do have a recipe for a really delicious burger that is, I have actually more than one recipe of burgers, but this one is my favorite baked tempeh burgers that my daughter is avoiding beans right now, and this is just tempeh and vegetables. And I've got another one in here that has tempeh and beans that I call a Grand Slam tempeh burger. That I call it a Grand Slam because it's kind of like a meal in a burger. It's got sweet potatoes in it. In this photo, it's got it on it as well. But there's sweet potatoes, beans, tempeh, and spinach all in the burger. So it's kind of like a full meal in your burger. I've also got beet burgers and other kind of burgers in here. And Sid and I have worked on a burger project. We have another project available through Sid's website, as a matter of fact, of a burger collaboration that she and I did with another culinary friend.
Oh, I've seen you collaborating in some of the bundles that Chef AJ has sponsored and different collaborative. I see your name all over the internet, and it's so great to have you as a guest here today. And you also, I know, and you may want to share with people that you do coaching. You have a monthly coaching, a 6-month or a 3-month program for people that need that one-on-one type of help. And so that's been very successful. And you've been rubbing shoulders with a a lot of the visionaries people from Virginia Moran in her program, and JL in Colorado. And it sounds like you've been to McDougall's, course, and Pam Popper's course, and you are well educated in the plant-based world.
Thank you. Yeah, I have had an opportunity to go through Victoria Moran's Main Street Vegan Academy multiple times. And so I have a Master Vegan Lifestyle coaching certificate from her. And then I did go through Wellness Forum Health to become a certified personal chef, and studied with Chef Del Shrew, that many of you may know through the Forks Over Knives program, and his cookbooks. And I am Starch Solutions certified through Dr. McDougall's program. I've been a follower of Dr. McDougall for many, many years. So, yeah.
So you pretty much can help people from all avenues, wherever they are. You take them where they are and move them to the next step, and help them reach their goals through your coaching.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I do work with people across the country at every stage. Many times it's a health scare that encourages them to look for some answers. But many times it's something else. They're just looking to find a healthier way of life. And so what I have found is that there are some universal challenges that people will experience many times as they're transitioning from the way they were used to eating to the way they'd like to eat. And so I'm here to kind of be an accountability partner, or help them solve the questions that are coming up, build new strategies, figure out what the obstacles are, and get them from where they are to where they want to be. And I hold your hand every step of the way, so that we can make sure we get you where you want to go. Sometimes it's people just needing more information. Sometimes people know what to do, but they don't know how. Sometimes they have a cooking challenge. Sometimes they need help with menu planning. Sometimes it's the social aspect. What do I do when I go to a work event and they've got lunch there and it's a deli tray and I don't eat that food? Or sometimes it's, my friends or my family are bothering me. I go to their house and they say, but I made this special cake for you. You always liked it. Or you were more fun when you were eating pizza with me, or whatever it is. There can be a lot of, kind of too much information coming at people that are trying to sort through the best way to make choices for themselves along the way. And sometimes it becomes really confusing, and people just don't know how to sort it through without hurting someone else's feelings. So I can help you with whatever it is that might be, that you're finding as an obstacle. There's many of us that are doing this kind of coaching work, and it's one of the most satisfying things I do. I love doing this work, working one-on-one with people and helping them figure out a way to get off their medication for diabetes by changing what they're eating. Or maybe they're starting to play with eating this way, but they don't know what to do with how to serve their family, or they aren't sure how to satisfy the cravings that they're having, or there's all kinds of things. And so I'm here to help you every step of the way.
It is, everyone is unique. Some people see a documentary, and overnight they, overdose on a weekend of all the documentaries, and they switch. Other people, it takes 4 or 5, months or weeks or days or years. And, we gradually, everyone starts at, their own time, but when they're ready, it's knowing how to work through those challenges that we all get, because let's face it, it is a non-vegan world that we live in. And we're bombarded with the advertisements and, restaurant food that's so unhealthy. If we're lucky enough to be close to a restaurant that cooks this way, it's really hard to find. If anyone has any questions in the chat, Vicki is available. We'll read the questions off to her. So please, we have about 17 people on the call here, and it is going to be recorded. You could reach out to her through her website and her blog. We want to encourage activity here, so feel free to. We have a few more minutes because we usually go till about 8:30, if it's okay with you, just to kind of pick your brain. I'd just like to know, and Carrie, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in here. I don't want to be the only one asking, but what do you find when people come to you for your coaching? If they're if they're an athlete and they're training for a marathon, there's certain things that you need to work out, and you start with the basics where they are in their fitness level, and and have their training program to be able to be ready for a marathon. They don't just do a marathon in a month by saying it and not doing it, the activity. So I'm sure you have several plans and things that that work for you and different people that you've worked with. What could you share, maybe, one or two memorable experiences that people had, like, wow, aha moments working with you, and either weight loss stories or health stories that they reversed something, an autoimmune disease or diabetes? Could you share something that's really stands
Absolutely.
out?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have worked with people who are athletes, a couple, in fact, individuals as well as couples where maybe the goals were different, and that can be kind of an interesting dynamic where one person's trying to gain weight and another's trying to lose weight. And so the same answer won't necessarily apply to both of them, of course, but very often when just talking about athletes, it's about just getting enough calories because they many times they may think they need more protein, they don't always. And I'm not here to tell people exactly what they need. That can be something that they can choose, but I do want to provide information and resources, and then people can kind of make their choices about that. I've worked with a lot of people who have reversed their medication on with diabetes. I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Brett-Gach, who many of you may know through the lifestyle medicine program at in Ann Arbor. He actually wrote the foreword to my book, and he has run a couple of different pilot programs to reverse diabetes type 2 through diet alone. And he ran one pilot program for 6 weeks with like 25 to 40 people. I can't remember which was which, but one of them was for staff and one of them was for patients. And so both of them went through the same program. I was there to help prepare meals for them and teach them how to cook plant-based so that they could be doing this all through this 6-week program. Of course, they took their numbers and their blood work at the beginning and at the end, and people literally, everyone who was compliant literally got off their medication. Not everyone was compliant, not everyone got off the medication, but everyone who stuck with it was able to. And it was fascinating to be part of this, watch people lose weight and be able to reverse their diabetes. That is not the only example, but that was people en masse that I had the opportunity to work with. I've also worked with people one after another throughout the country with similar situations who were able to improve their outcomes and their reverse their medication needs. I also have somebody who I'm very excited to have helped who had I'm going to say stage 3 kidney disease, and who was able to reverse it. And I've heard other people say it's impossible to reverse, but she actually did. She went from type, or I'm saying type again, like diabetes, stage 3 to normal numbers. She was a victim of actually having kidney damage due to high blood pressure medication that she was put on, without being given the choice to instead just use diet as a change, to help improve her situation. And so she went on this medication, she got into trouble with her kidneys, and she was able, through, kind of noticing what was happening and finding me, and we went on this mission together to reverse things for her, and she had the outcome that she was looking for. So that was really exciting to be part of. And I just talked to somebody today, interestingly, I'm not working with him yet, but he is interested in working with me, who told me that he was trying to reverse his diabetes and was able to do so, but he did so eating meat. And now his kidneys are suffering, and he's got big problems with kidneys, as well as his first case of gout. And he called me from his bed because he's in such pain. and we started to talk about this. And he knows now that trying to reverse diabetes through eating a meat-centered diet, you might be able to get the results you want in one way, but you're damaging your body in so many other ways. It's not a good trade-off. So he knows now that a plant-based diet is the answer. And so he was reaching out to see if we might be able to work together. So I think that one's kind of interesting. I've never had someone be able to like have that aha moment about the meat and disease, and then know that that's exactly what they need to not do. So anyway, yeah. So I've worked with many people, all kinds of situations related to health, and often diabetes is one of the big ones.
That's amazing. Wow. To reverse stage 3 kidney disease
I know.
to be
I
normal.
mean, it's
Yeah.
very exciting. And it's probably in her case because she had this damage for a very short time and, quickly attended to it, that she was able to get the good result, because I'm sure that's, we can't necessarily expect that in all cases. But what we can say for sure is that a plant-based diet is helpful for everyone. We don't necessarily know, what risks are out there for us in all kinds of ways down the road or anything of that sort. We can't see the future, but what we do know is that we can reduce the possibility and the risks of these chronic illnesses by making the best choices that we have available to us. And so that all comes down to eating the food we are meant to eat, which is the food grown from the earth, and and take care of our animal friends, and in turn take care of the environment by just doing the right thing all around. It's just a full circle of good choices.
I know. Before I was just listening to Dr. Scott Stoll on the with Dottie, the Olympians from Plantition Project. They were having a Zoom tonight, and they were saying that the focus for all these other diets other than plant-based are usually the high protein or the carbs, the low carb, the high fat, the macronutrients, but they're not focusing on the most important, the micronutrients that are only found in the plants. All the colors, all the antioxidants, the phytonutrients, those are, the real nutrients that every cell, from our brain to our skin to our blood to our bones, all our organs, that's how we regenerate. Whether you're a top athlete, now they're all Olympians, gold medal and silver medalists that were on the Zoom, and they're working ahead to work with the performance of not only athletes, but everybody wants to be a top performer, just to think better, to move better, to not have pain, to be able to walk further, and be able to stand for more than an hour or two, not have your knees hurt, not get out of bed with aches and pains. Growing old does not mean necessarily growing old in pain, right? You could grow old in, well into your later years with energy and vitality if you give your cells the nutrients from the plants.
Absolutely.
A lot of people say they're too old to change. What do you have? I imagine you work with people of all ages. Do you have?
I do.
What's the oldest person that started on a plant-based diet that that worked with you?
Someone in their 80s.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that is true, that it's never too old. We're never too old to improve what we're doing every day, right? And build good habits. But we're never too young either. So the time is always now to make our best choice, to make us feel our best today and tomorrow, and so on. The difference between feeling kind of foggy and lethargic versus, energetic and with vitality and energy that you just can't wait to get out of bed in the morning and dive into all the projects you're working on and share them with others, and do the work that, with your family and your clients, or whether it's whatever it is that gives you joy. You want energy for it, and to share also with your family, your grandkids, whatever it might be. So we owe it to all of to us to take care of ourselves and then to help share this message with other people as well.
Yeah, we're about done with our time here, and just want to thank you. I know, Carrie, did you want to we have actually a question. Is the Tempe bean burger that we mentioned only found in your book, or is it can it be found on your website?
So this, I actually have some, I do have some burgers on my website, and I have a variety of them in my cookbook as well. And I'm not sure that they're all the same. I think there's a variety there, but you'll find something no matter where you go that you can take a peek at.
Yeah, you have a lot of recipes there on your
I do.
website. Carrie,
Yeah.
did you want to close us out for the night?
Yeah, perfect. So I just wanted to kind of bring it back and say your recipes look amazing. I went to your website to put it in the chat, and the recipe that you made tonight and all the ones on your website are super colorful, which we were talking about earlier, all of the micronutrients. And one thing that I really love to kind of get people excited about is eating the rainbow, eating all of the different colors, and your recipe tonight showcases a perfect way to do that. So I'm going to hopefully be trying that and many of your recipes going forward.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that, and thank you for that. And everyone is invited to visit my website at AnnArborVeganKitchen.com, and I hope you'll subscribe. I'd love to send new recipes to you as soon as they're published, and share them with you in the future as well.
Yeah, we will be sharing, we'll be sure to share your website in the show notes when this goes on our YouTube channel as well.
Great,
So,
great.
So thank you so much, Janet, and for Vicki, all of your information and your demonstrations tonight. They were amazing. And thank you to everyone that showed up and was here live in person, and to those who will be watching the recording on our YouTube channel. Be sure to check out the show notes. We'll include all the information and the recipes that we shared tonight. And before we say goodbye for the night, I'm excited to tell you about our program for next month. So we're actually excited to welcome Vicki back with us, as well as Angela Fischetti, who is a guest speaker, who was a guest speaker a couple months back. So they're going to be doing a tag team demonstration. So Angela will be explaining the benefits of strength training and exactly what we need to know about compound movements, plus provide actual instruction and guidance to help us all get started and do so safely. And then, what should you eat after your workout? Well, Vicki's going to show us how to prepare a delicious, nutritious, easy post-workout meal that checks all the boxes and is fitness expert approved. So I can't wait for that event. I know it's going to be amazing. And that event is going to be on June 13th. It will be a Thursday, so it's not our typical third Tuesday of the month. So be sure to mark that date on your calendars, since it's a little bit different from our normal night. But we hope to see everyone back and invite anyone and everyone to join us. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.